In Nahum chapter 3, we hear more about the destruction of the city of Nineveh. And in chapter 3 and verse 1, the prophet describes Nineveh as city of bloodshed, utterly deceitful, full of booty, no end to the plunder. What a terrible reputation to have as a city of bloodshed, utterly deceitful. And again, the prophet goes on to describe horsemen charging, flashing sword and glittering spear, piles of dead, heaps of corpses, dead bodies without end. They stumble over the bodies. We pray that's not the reality that we see in our world and in our time. And the end of our passage for today is our verse for the day, which is chapter 3, verse 7. Then all who see you will shrink from you and say, Nineveh is devastated. Who will bemoan her? Where shall I seek comforters for you? This verse reflects one of the dynamics we often see in our own lives and that we see on a global scale even. Nineveh and the Assyrians had been horrible to their neighbors. They had been aggressive, they were conquerors, they were brutal to the people they defeated in terms of the violence and the bloodshed. And now it's all coming back on them. They're the ones being attacked. They're the ones who have their borders being encroached on and crossed and beaten back. And who's going to bemoan her? Who's going to mourn or grieve for Nineveh? And Nahum's question is a rhetorical question. The answer is nobody, because everybody's happy to see Assyria's downfall. Just like today, nations in the world might be happy to see the downfall of another nation that they saw as a violent oppressor. And the second part of that verse, where shall I seek comforters for you, implies there isn't anybody. There's no one who wants to comfort Nineveh because they never comforted or helped or aided anybody else. It's interesting. I was reading an article not too long ago, and it was talking about how the move to act altruistically, the move to altruism, acting for the benefit of somebody else without seemingly any benefit to ourselves, like why people risk their lives to help save other people who are total strangers, that neurologists are saying that drive is actually in the same part of our brains as the desire to eat, that it's such an ancient part of the human brain. And when we fail to help others, to try to assist others, who's going to help us or want to assist us when we need it? Probably nobody. That was certainly the case for the Assyrians and the Ninevites. It's wise, and it's part of who we are, and part of being a disciple of Christ, to always be looking at how can I love and serve and help my neighbor.